Good day, duelists! These are Duel Masters mini-figurines, and if they look familiar, it's because about a year ago I made a video in which I unboxed every mini-figurine ever released. At least according to our knowledge at the time. See, as per the wiki page, we knew of 2 series of such figurines, but it turns out there was a hidden 3rd series that I at least had no idea existed, and this is what I have for you here today. And actually, if we take a closer look, you'll notice that 2 of these Series 3 figurines have a blue sticker that's very similar to the Series 2 sticker. They're even listed on the wiki page as being part of Series 2, and in fact, these blue sticker ones I already unboxed in the previous video I made, and I didn't think much of it. And I still think that this 3 here might just be a typo, and these are just Series 2 figurines in disguise. So these are not the interesting ones, plus, like I mentioned, I already opened them for the channel before, so we'll be skipping these ones. No, the really interesting ones that I didn't even know existed before are these orange label figurines, the true, mysterious and elusive Series 3, and these are the ones we'll be unboxing together in this video. There's one of each civilization, and with this long introduction out of the way, let's start with the Fire Civilization, featuring Bolmetia Steel Dragon and Lava Walker Executo. On the back it just says, recreate the fury of the duel. Centuries of war have devastated the homeland of the Fire Civilization. Humans and dragonoids seek remnants of their once powerful technology, all the while grinding themselves for future battle. That's kinda cute. You see here that it's the Fire Civilization, selected out of all the 5, and let's just open them up and see what they're all about. There we go, beautiful. These are the 2 creatures that we have. Let's start with the most interesting one, probably everyone's favorite, Bolmetia Steel Dragon, and look at it, it's absolutely beautiful. And I do think that these are a bit of a step above from the ones that we had previously. Like if you take a look at my previous video on all of the other ones, you'll kind of notice that I think they're a bit better worked, these ones. At least this one for Bolmetius actually looks kind of cool. And one thing that I found out is that they have these numbers here, because apparently these were supposed to be battle cubes that you were supposed to like roll and they would land on some number. I don't think they roll very well, but there we go. I should be more careful with these. These are very rare. But that is Bolmetius Steel Dragon, and then we also have, for the Fire Civilization, Lava Walker Executo, and I never realized this creature was supposed to look like this, actually. I never really understood what was happening in the artwork of that card, but there we go. This is Lava Walker Executo. Actually, the details on these are quite nice. So these are the Fire Civilization ones, and with these out of the way, I think it is time that we move on to the next civilization. Which one should we do next? Let's just do Darkness, because I think this is among the most interesting ones. Not only does it have Duel Master of Death, everyone's favorite, of course, if you watched the previous video on my channel, one of my personal favorite cards. And then we also have Olgate. And the interesting thing about Olgate is that in the English translation, like in the English game, as you can see on screen, he was named Olgate the Nightmare Samurai, but here we have Baron of the Crypt, which I believe is like a word-for-word translation of the original Japanese name, so very interesting. We've seen these on some of these figurines before, that they didn't have the actual name of the card that got released in English. But anyway, on the back, again, recreate the fury of the duo that we saw in the previous one, and the description of the Darkness Civilization. In their never-ending pursuit for immortality, the Dark Civilization has poisoned the air and destroyed the environment, forcing its creatures to forever wear protective armor. So that's an interesting lore piece, why they're all wearing armor, huh? I didn't know that. But anyway, let's just open it up and have a look at these. So there we go. Let's start, of course, with the showpiece, the most interesting one, Duel Master of Death. And look at this beauty. It's actually, again, I'm quite impressed by these, because if you've seen the video for the series 1 and 2, they were really bad. Like maybe I can even show you. Like some of these, this was supposed to be Earth Purifying Elemental, and his face just kind of looks like a pumpkin. This was from the previously unboxed ones. And compared to this, I mean, this Balam actually looks kind of nice. The details on these are quite good. You can see that they used sort of the wings as like delimiters, and you can have a look at the back as well. It's not the most amazing looking figurine, but I mean, for what it is, I think it's really cool. Plus it's Balam, how can you not love Balam? And next up we have Olgate, the Nightmare Samurai. So there we go. This was always one of the best artworks on any card in Duel Masters. I really want to make a decent deck using Olgate just because the artwork on this card is amazing, and the figurine does not disappoint either. Again, maybe I just came into these with low expectations, but I think these actually look pretty sick. Like you can kind of see the details on this, and I think it does look quite nice. So let's move on to the next one. Maybe I'll just put them on the table like this, so you can see them better. Let's move on to the Water Civilization, for which they've chosen Hunter Cluster and Crystal Jouster. Not the most iconic Water Civilization cards, I want to say, especially considering, right, we've had Bometheus, we've had Balam. For Light I saw that we have Arcadius, for this we have Hunter Cluster, but it is what it is. Hunter Cluster is a cute card, and of course you have the description: the Water Civilization holds supremacy of intellect above all other values. This and their ability to win victory after victory make them as enigmatic as the source of energy that powers the civilization. So that's the Water Civilization. Let's just open it up. And there we go, there we have them. Let's start with the left one, with the Hunter Cluster, which does look just like the Duel Masters card. And again, the details on this are not bad. Like you can see there's these sort of lines here that are in like a cyber-ish color. They're like golden. I always kind of like the art of this card as well. It's a shame it was not the best card, also not the worst. I mean, it's later eclipsed by that Aqua Skydiver card, but you know, shield trigger creatures, they were innovative for their time, and this was a blocker that could save you from an attack. Not a bad little thing. And the artwork, like I was saying, looks kind of cool, and the figurine does match. Again, I think these are like much better than previous series. The details on these are kinda neat. So there we go. That's Hunter Cluster, and we can move on then to Crystal Jouster. There we go. A very transparent on this one, or I should say like translucent. Crystal Jouster. Again, one of the very cool looking cards in Duel Masters. I mean, a lot of cards in Duel Masters were cool looking, but Crystal Jouster especially was a really cool card. Couldn't really find a home for a good deck, but it was definitely cool. It had that factor for it, and you can notice the details on it. This is probably, like, if I'm honest, this is probably my least favorite figurine so far. I feel like they could have maybe done more with the Crystal Jouster. The details are not as sharp as maybe some of the others, but it's also because I probably don't have that much attachment to the card itself. So let's put it here and move on to my favorite civilization, which is Light Civilization, featuring Arcadius, Lord of Spirits, and Laveil, Seeker of Catastrophe. If we flip it around, we see some lore piece about the Light Civilization. The once peaceful Light Civilization, again Light Civilizations, they kept doing this in quite some descriptions, I'm not sure what's up with that. The once peaceful Light Civilization is disrupted by constant war. Its leaders must find new ways to maintain the freedom and safety of their homeland at all costs. So there we go, and if we open it up, we find, of course, Arcadius and Laveil. And let's start off with Arcadius, because I think this is very interesting. Of course, Arcadius, one of my favorite creatures as well, you know, the Light versus Darkness war of DMO4, Balam versus Arcadius and all that. I have recently finally gotten myself the big Alcadias figurine as well. Of course, if we compare this to that one, the level of quality is not even close. And in fact, it's kind of weird that they made him so blue. Like, why is Alcadias so blue? I mean, he's a little bit blue, but he's definitely not like this in the card art, right? Am I crazy? I don't know. Like, of course, having an Alcadias minifigurine is nice because it's one of the coolest creatures in Duel Masters, but it just looks a bit weird and it feels a bit off. This is more reminiscent of the level of quality of the other figurines, right? That we have seen in the previous video. But it just looks a bit weird. The wings look nice and they're a bit floppy. You can kind of move them a bit around, but I don't understand why they made his body so blue. Like, it's blue all over, right? It doesn't have like just shades of blue like the original does. It's just a bit off. But alas, this is Alcadias. And secondly, for the Light Civilization, we have Laveil, Seeker of Catastrophe. And this one, I mean, ooh, look at this. They painted like the little swirly whirlwind thing that's on the card art. They painted it on the base. I really do like this detail. The figurine itself looks like the card. It is what it is. I'm maybe not as impressed by this one, just because, well, I mean, it's Laveil. It was never like, it didn't have that cool factor that other boss monsters did, right? But it does look cool for what it is. We can kind of see it from all angles. It has these little notches here. It's nice. It's nice. And lastly, let's move on to the Nature Civilization, which we have Neopha, Horn Protector, and Cliff Crush Giant. Both of these cards, especially Neopha, was like a mainstay in the playground. Like, everyone had this card and ran it, you know, with Rumbling Terrorhorn. It was like the combo to run back in the day. And we have the Nature Civilization as a society that is chaotic and without leaders. Invasion by water and darkness powers have forced the nature creatures to ready themselves for war. Cool little lore fact there. Let's open it up. And let's start with Neopha, Horn Protector. And I mean, it looks interesting, I want to say. I mean, the level of detail is not quite there. I mean, the Neopha card looks so bloody cool, right? But this one, I mean, it represents the creature well. Like, this is what the creature looks like. It's just that the level of detail is not quite there. Like, you can't really see its eyes or anything, right? It's a bit weird, right? We can flip it around. We see its booty. And there we go. That is Neopha, Horn Protector. I'm not as impressed with this one either. Again, I was saying that the level of details for some of these figurines is not quite on par, and I think this is a good example of that. And finally, our last minifigurine is Cliff Crush Giant, if I can just carefully get it out of its package. And why does it have its hand in this position? That's a bit weird. That's not how the card looked, right? Yeah, like in the original card, his hand is like this, going down, like he's crushing the ground or whatever. Here they just have him doing like a Roman salute. What is this? I don't know why they went with this weird pose. And also, I mean, his face does look a bit funny. Again, the details on this one are, yeah, they're just a little bit off, you know, like uncanny valley territory. I do like what they did with the base here. Like they sort of did this textury, like earthy thing, so that's nice. But I mean, yeah, the level of detail is not quite there. He kind of looks like a Titan from Attack on Titan, but other than that, there we go. So there we go. These are all of the Series 3 minifigurines, and now I'm quite confident that we've actually unboxed all minifigurines that were ever released for Duel Masters. Overall, some hits and some misses in this series. I definitely like the Prometheus. I think the Prometheus looks good. Maybe they spent some extra effort on this one, because, you know, it's one of the signature creatures from the anime. And I also quite like the Balam. Again, some details are kind of funny on it, but overall, I think it looks great. So those are probably my favorite ones. Allgate as well. Allgate just looks sick because it's Allgate. And that's it for this video. I hope you had fun taking a look at these missing minifigurines, a piece of Duel Masters history, and I will see you next time. Take care.